Let's talk about the tool of mental visualization in your business as an entrepreneur and a sales professional. And let me first tell you about a story about my life and how I even got here. I had a vision for my life and I had a vision for my business. And it led me to travel around the world. And I'll show you here, I am in Argentina, in Patagonia. And I dreamt of this. I consciously and on purpose visualized myself in different places in the world, in different seasons, in different times of the year, in different locations. And it's all come true because it's no different than Steph Curry practicing his 3-point shot, right? He's visualizing that when he's sleeping, when he's waking up, when he's meditating, of the shots going in. And that is the same kind of philosophy that business people, entrepreneurs, salespeople, we need to embrace that mentality because it works. We're focused, execution, solution-oriented people. And if we don't give ourselves a precise thing that we want, we become scatterbrained. So these are going to be the 5 ways you can have a better, a more acute way to visualize your life in business. And at the end, I have a free training and a free course that teaches you some of these visualization tactics that help with your sales, help with what you want to create, why you want to create it. It's essential. So vision and visualization techniques and success all begin and end in the mind, right? And so the first thing you must remember when you're thinking about how to start a visualization practice is it must be extremely simple. It cannot be very elaborate. It cannot be very long scene that you're witnessing in your mind's eye. It needs to be simple and brief, no more than 5 to 15 seconds as a scene. For example, when I would go to trade shows on business trips, I would visualize how I would interact with people at the trade show, how I would move, how I would walk, what I'd be wearing, what I would be eating, what I'd be drinking, what I'd be saying, what the vibe of the place was like. And so it had to be a brief clip in my mind's eye. And usually the clip was more than just actually what I'm seeing. It kind of was what I was feeling. So I would see myself walking into the exhibit hall and just get that feeling of confidence, that feeling of this is exciting, this is fun, I'm getting onto a new adventure. It's no different than playing golf. Professional golfers visually imagine the net result. They're thinking about the ball going into the cup. And so when they visualize, that's the frame they're thinking of, is the ball going where they want it to go. And so you always just focus on the result, not the process, but the result, the happy customer, the smiling face, the signature, the handshake, the money in your account. Visualize specifically what the result is. And you've heard it before and you're gonna hear it again here. Repetition is the mother of skill. This has to be repeated again and again. So practice this visualization 50 times. 5 to 10 seconds, 50 times over. You can take breaks in between so you have a little time to reset, but repetition is gonna ingrain this into reality in your mind's eye, and you're gonna think you already have these skills, you already have these outcomes, and it almost makes it like there's no guesswork when you're in the actual situation. It's just your brain takes over because you've already been here, because you practiced it. The second point, I don't know, which side do you like better? The second point is, this is complementary to real world practice. You can't just visualize your way to excellence. You have to actually go into the world and practice it. And so remember, whatever you are visualizing, you must have executed in the past before to some degree. You must have done it to some capacity. For me, when I'd go into meetings, I've met people before, I've talked to people before, so I have a frame of reference, I have context. So then when I visualize it, then I can go into the meeting and imagine shaking the hands and saying, the deal's done, thanks for helping me, all that good stuff because I already have a frame of reference. So this complementary, the visualization, it's ingrained, it's believed when you do it in the real world. A good analogy and metaphor for this is when you're building a new house, right? There's the blueprint and then there's actually the construction part of it, right? The blueprint is the visualization. That is laying down the groundwork mentally, the framing of it. The actual construction is the real concrete doing, the real world practice. So remember, this is just a supplement. It is not a replacement for real world execution. Third is you must always apply real world labels to your visualizations. For example, if I'm going into a meeting and I have been practicing a visualization of the first 30 seconds of the meeting or 15 seconds, because remember, it has to be short, less than 15 seconds. The first 15 seconds of the meeting, I'm visualizing what the handshake feels like, what the pat on the back feels like, what the first thing I say feels and sounds like, right? But I must label that. So I would call that sales introduction 1 or sales number 1. So then when I'm going into these actual encounters, I can recall sales number 1, boom, and I'm there. So you must apply real world labels to it. It's no different than when you're meeting somebody. This is a great analogy for trying to remember someone's name. And what do? You apply a label to tired Ted, fat Frank, right? So now I remember, oh, Frank, he's fat. Oh, I got a label. Oh, Ted's tired. Yeah, I got the label. No difference with the visualization is you want to apply a label so you can recall it in actual real world practice. It's really no different than if you have a map and you're looking for lost gold or treasure. It just gives you a framework in how to get back there because it is a map to get to your ultimate destination. Fourth is you must always visualize from a frame of reference that is first person. You must always visualize from first person vantage point. And so what I mean by that is right now I'm looking into the camera, into my phone, from first person. I don't see my body, I just see the camera. You know, like a first person shooter game, you want to visualize from the first person. You don't want to look at yourself from a third person, from an outsider's perspective, as if you're hovering over yourself. You don't want to do that. So always visualize from first person. It's very similar to when you're role playing and you're basically perfecting the role from a first person vantage point. So if I'm visualizing the meeting or I'm visualizing the golf swing, I am actually looking down at my feet. I'm actually looking at my hand. I'm actually looking at the client. I'm actually looking around at his office or at the trade show or whatever I'm doing. I'm putting myself in the environment from a role-playing framework. It's no different than DiCaprio or De Niro or Denzel Washington. When they're getting ready for a role, they are role-playing the entire scenarios, the entire cadence, the entire process is them embodying the character from a first-person standpoint. It makes it like a dress rehearsal and it's completely immersive because they are actually there. You are actually feeling like this is reality. It's no different when you're in a dream and your dream is a first person dream. You have no idea that you're dreaming most of the time. You are so immersed. You are so into that role. You don't know the difference between reality and dreamland. And that's where you want to get within your visualization practices. And fifth and finally is you want to have a practice where you either listen to or watch yourself on tape, on video, or have a recording. I use a recording personally in my life. It's called Think Up. It's an app. And what you can do is record snippets of whatever you want to ingrain, whatever you want to visualize, whatever you want to remember. And when you're listening to it, you're going through the process. You're actually listening and visualizing yourself executing on whatever you're saying, actually being there first person. And you can do this with your eyes open or your eyes closed, because as I'm looking at the camera right now, I can visualize there's a person in front of me and I can be shaking their hands. I can see their facial expressions. So you can still do visualization with your eyes open or your eyes closed. And if you're not a good visualizer, you can also just get the feeling. Many times when I'm listening to my recordings, I just get the feeling of confidence. I just get the feeling of love. I get the feeling of abundance. I get the feeling of the cash in my hand. Just the feel of it, the smell of it. So when you start to visualize from that context, it really ingrains it even deeper. So whatever type of visualization you prefer, feeling actually visually or feeling which is kinesthetic, use whatever works best for you. Also, when I'm editing my videos for some of my short form, as I'm watching it over and over again, it's a visualization process of what I'm getting good at, where I can improve it. And the great thing about editing a short form video is I'm actually editing in real time, making it better. So I am refining myself in real time as a visualizer as I'm looking at the screen. So it's no different than LeBron watching game tape. The best of the best always watched how they performed, what they did well, and where they can improve. And we must do the same. But our game tape is actually in our mind or in our ear or when we're watching footage of ourselves. So we must always watch the game tape. It's this process of mirror, reflect, and then refine our process, because that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to see what we're looking at, what we're trying to do, where we want to go, reflect it back onto us to see where there might be gaps, and then we refine our process. We refine who we are through the visualization, and then in the real world, we actually execute on whatever we visualized. Grab my free training. It'll be linked below. It's in my course. It'll go through visualization for your business, for your mindset, to get you super, super clear. Now, just to recap, the 5 principles, the 5 practices for visualization. Number 1, remember, keep it brief, under 15 seconds. Keep it super simple, not a lot of complexity, right? Number 2 is, this is complementary to real world practice, okay? Go in the real world, practice it, it'll make it stronger. Number 3 is label everything. Give it a label. Golf swing number 1, sales pitch number 1, introduction number 1, whatever you want to label it. Number 4 is always keep it first person. Always first person. First person shooter, right? Always looking out of your own eyes. And 5th is you gotta review the game tape. Always review your game tape so you can reflect it, you can mirror it, and you can refine it. We'll see you next time.